Oh man.
Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. And welcome to another installment of The Villain Files. Tonight's villain is known as the terror of all steam engines. 10 out of 10 for devious deeds and brutal strain, a blast from the past who hates steam engines, and a heavy metal monster. This is Diesel 10. Diesel 10, or simply Diesel as known by others, is an evil diesel engine with a semi-sentient rooftop hydraulic claw, which he has named Pinchy. He once visited the island of Sodor a long time ago, and caused trouble for the steam engines while he was there. During his visit he found Lady, the engine responsible for keeping Sodor alive, and chased her, making her crash. Several years later, Diesel 10 came back to Sodor when the Fat Controller was on holiday, intending to destroy Lady forever. He was first seen by Thomas and Gordon when he raced past them at Caliburn Station, and brought his two lapdogs, Splatter and Dodge, to the railway, who were present when he was scheming. He caused several problems for the steam engines, such as dumping sneezing powder around Tidmouth sheds and later destroying the scaffolding that had been placed beside the shed. Diesel 10 attempted to make Mr. Conductor tell him where the lost engine was, but was scared away by a bag of sugar, which is somehow his weakness. After spying on Thomas and Percy, Diesel 10 discovers that there's a set of buffers somewhere on the island that leads to a magic railroad where Lady may be. As he schemes to put Mr. Conductor's lights out, Toby distracts him with his bell, causing his claw to smash into the shed where he, Splatter and Dodge were, and the roof crashes onto them. When Mr. Conductor travelled across Sodor to find the windmill, Diesel 10 found him and held him over the Big Dipper, intending to drop him. However, Mr. Conductor managed to escape by cutting one of the hydraulics hoses in his claw with a pair of wire cutters, causing him to fling Mr. Conductor across the island into the windmill. Diesel 10 was later present at the coaling plant, where he was covered in coal when he was teaching Splatter and Dodge how to stop being stupid. After Junior flew in the air after riding on the windmill sails, he landed on Diesel 10's cab, who raced across the island and to the smelter's yard, where he tried to push James and Junior into the melting pit. Fortunately, Junior and James managed to escape using the last of the former's gold dust. After Lady was brought back up to steam and returned to Sodor, Diesel 10 found her and began to chase her, Thomas and Burnett Stone across the island until they reached the viaduct, but not before Splatter and Dodge betrayed him for some reason. Lady, Burnett and Thomas managed to cross the viaduct safely while it was collapsing, but it had already done so by the time Diesel 10 came over and he plunged into a barge of sludge below the bridge, where he was sent away in disgrace. Diesel 10 would be absent from the show until his next appearance in a certain TV special that I have a certain hatred for. But because I'm here to talk about the history of Diesel 10, I'm going to talk about his appearance in Coal No Engines, but consider it non-canon, for obvious reasons. Diesel 10 later returned to Sodor years later under unknown circumstances. It can be assumed, however, that the Fat Controller decided to give him a second chance. He is seen working at the scrapyard, loading piles of scrap into trucks. The very sight of his return caused Thomas and Percy to shudder in fright. While the steam and diesel engines were holding a meeting at the coaling plant about working together to finish the Sodor airport, Diesel 10 was not invited by Thomas because Thomas was too frightened and was sure that Diesel 10 would never help the steam engines anyway. Soon the airport was nearly complete with its construction until a water tower collapsed, cracking the runway and blocking the line. With Harvey all the way on the other side of the island, Thomas went to ask Diesel 10 for assistance. After some hesitation, Diesel 10 agreed to help clear the wreckage. After Thomas was found prior to the reopening of Great Waterton, Diesel 10 was among the diesels present at the quarry when they heard the news. Now we return to canon, where Diesel 10 would make a comeback in style. And boy was that style worth the wait. Later, when the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre was opened, Diesel 10 was present at the rescue centre's grand opening, standing on a cliffside overlooking the rescue centre and the steam engines below, threatening to return. When Percy was experiencing a fallout with Thomas, Diesel 10 decided to manipulate him into helping him restore the Vickerstown Diesel Works, by having him visit the Diesel Works and befriend him. Diesel 10 managed to convince Thomas to arrive at the Diesel Works, where he was held hostage while he, Percy and the other Diesels went to the Sodor Steamworks. Once there, Diesel 10 betrayed Percy and took over the Steamworks. Percy returned to the Diesel Works to rescue Thomas when he noticed that sparks from Pinchy had set the main building ablaze. Percy brought Bell and Flynn to put out the fire. After Thomas was saved and the fire was put out, Percy, Kevin and the rest of the steam team went to the Steamworks. After a brief argument with the Diesels, the Fat Controller arrived, and after being told about the state of the Diesel Works, agreed to have the place restored. Diesel 10 and the other Diesels worked alongside the steam engines to restore the Diesel Works, and he became the new head of the Diesel Works, with Den and Dart taking over in his absence. After a couple of more years of absence after Day of the Diesels, Diesel 10 wouldn't come back to the show until a Christmas episode in the new series, head written by Andrew Brennan. When it was Christmas time, Diesel 10 became jealous of the steam engines for having more decorations at Tidmouth sheds than he and the Diesels had at the Diesel Works. He began stealing decorations from the sheds to bring them to the Diesel Works, enlisting the reluctant Paxton to help him. Diesel 10 was caught by Percy, who chased him back to the Diesel Works with the rest of the steam team, where Diesel 10 found out that the Fat Controller had in fact had Paxton deliver some decorations to the Diesel Works, so he gave the decorations back to the steam team. But as most of them had been damaged, he gave the Diesel Works his decorations to them the next day, as he and the other Diesels considered Sydney to be a good enough decoration. In the Series 22 episode What Rebecca Does, Diesel 10's claw makes an appearance in one of Rebecca's fantasies, which is a very weird fantasy if you ask me. Diesel 10 is an evil, conniving, manipulative, bullying and raving diesel locomotive. He absolutely despises steam engines, and will call them taunting names like Puffball and Teapot. He is Sodor's strongest but not quite largest diesel, his power being enforced by his slightly malfunctioning claw, Pinchy. He can use this deftly, and is even able to use it to make a sculpture. Pinchy, though, seems to have a mind of its own, as has been shown to punch Diesel 10 on the face from time to time, which he loathes. All engines, steam and diesel alike, fear or respect him. Despite his brutality, he will help sometimes since the Fat Controller brought him back, but only when it suits his personal interest. Although he rarely shows it, he has shown to have a good side to him, as most people do. In Thomas and the Magic Railroad, Diesel 10 was originally going to be voiced by Keith Scott, but the test audiences rejected him thinking he'd be too scary, so he was replaced with Neil Crone, who gave a Brooklyn-type accent to this hilarious character. When he returned in Calling All Engines, he was voiced by British narrator Michael Angelus and American narrator Michael Brandon. When he was set to return in the CGI series, he was originally going to be voiced by Rupert Digges in the work prints, but was later replaced with Matt Wilkinson in the final project, who had been voicing the character ever since. After his big screen and TV appearances, Diesel 10 would also appear in some magazines and a few books every now and then. Outside of the TV series, Diesel 10 would make a couple of appearances in magazines and books, including the book Diesel 10 Means Trouble, which revealed the fact that Diesel 10's claw would have emerged from his roof in the film. But due to test audiences' rejections, that scene was cut, and this book is the only way you could see that happening. He also appeared in Thomas and the Magic Railroad print studio, where if you click on him you can make jigsaw puzzles. He also appeared in a Thomas Land ride in Japan, at one point being set up in a Thomas and the Magic Railroad scene, and then another point being set up in a scene from Day of the Diesels. And why they've never had something like this with Diesel 10 in the UK in Thomas Land, I'll never know. He even appeared in what I consider a silly story, being Thomas and the Beanstalk, which, as I said, I consider to be quite silly. Diesel 10 may have started off in a movie that was considered a box office bomb when it was first released, but to me he's an important part of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, because he was part of the original Thomas from my childhood. In my mind, Diesel 10 is, always has, and always will be an important part of Thomas the Tank Engine, as he was part of the classic show that I grew up with. And if the show has plans to bring him back in the future, I hope that they do him justice and stick to the evil character that he is. But whether he does return or not to bring hell to the engine slides on Sodor, we'll just have to wait and see. But you can bet that wherever he is up to no good, and has big, nasty plans for the steam engines. And that's all there is you need to know about Diesel 10. Look out for more villain files in the future. I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks.